I'm Zeynep. I'm co-founder and CEO of Mindra, and we've been working on Mindra for the last 6 months, and it's been a really great journey so far.
I'm also another co-founder, and I'm the CPO of Mindra. We had this incredible journey for 6 months. Especially in AI world, 6 months is sometimes like eternity. And we had
like
so
a
many different
decade.
experiences. We've learned so many stuff, and I think it's time to talk about these things so that other people can also
Of course,
benefit.
and we also had a lot of chance to experiment, see other perspectives of businesses, and also talk to other people that are doing the frontier AI models, frontier AI applications and everything. I think it would be really nice to just like talk about it.
Yeah, like lately, like we see all these different types of companies coming to the area, like student-led startups or inexperienced people coming up with so many interesting products that they can penetrate the market so easily. We've been saying this for years now. Okay, this year is the age of AI. This year is the age of AI. We now see how things are shifting so incredibly fast. When we look at the market right now, I see a really confused market. Where we see really simple chatbots still generating a lot of money, but also there are so many like advanced architectural designs and all those AI CMOs. How do you feel about that?
I feel like the age of AI every single year, I think it's since like 2023, because before ChatGPT, I mean, we had AIs, we had transformers, we had very great deep learning models and everything, but it was not in the hands of very non-technical people or even developers as well. Only the AI scientists or researchers were using AI. It started all with the ChatGPT. It got very common and everything. And in 2023, everybody was talking about Gen AI, how to implement Gen AI. It was only Gen AI, no agents, no chatbots even. Like in 2024, people started that, oh, maybe we should actually enable these like Gen AI tools to have the knowledge so that they can like answer questions, also like customer support mechanisms or like their employee onboarding and everything so that they have the context. This can also work like an employee. Like it actually started to feel like an agentic space where these LLMs had the knowledge of the company. It could be with prompts or like vector spaces and everything, but it started with the Gen AI, then it went to like more like a RAG year. 2024 I think was a RAG year, and 2025 everybody started to build agents because these models got really big, and also not only really big and large, they also got like very smart. Because these models got very smart, everybody started, oh, what else can we do with these models where we can integrate? And it felt like I think pressure for the companies. We should integrate AI in somewhere, but like how? And the question of how is kind of, I think, rushed into, which also made the companies unsuccessful as well. How do you think about it?
Yeah, like I think bullshit, Zeynep. There are so many bullshit companies in the area. Like it's a very crowded area. How are we going to implement AI into everyday processes? And we see like a lot of companies who argue that they are the best at the stuff. But in the perspective of the company, it's very, very difficult to understand who is bullshitting. Because you only understand it once you put it in production. And once you put it in production, it can send emails in your behalf. Then that's a really big security issue.
Yeah, not only like a security issue, but also like a very big opportunity cost, because you're like allocating your engineers to build some stuff. You might be also outsourcing, which is also a lot of money. And in the very end, you don't get like a very good result, and which makes no sense.
Also, another side of it is, of course, even if you're like the most efficient company, like the most efficient traditional company, once you're competing with another like competitor who utilizes AI in a good way, it's impossible for you to compete with them. Like it is really a game changer. That's the reason of this hype. Everybody's talking about this AI bubble. If it's bigger than it seems, that's another question. But it's a fact that it's a game changer, and making the processes so much faster. And that's why that's the dilemma that the companies are trying to solve right now. They don't want to risk making a mistake. This opportunity cost is big. On the other side, they have to integrate AI into their workflows. And I think that's very difficult for some companies, especially if they don't have a big developer team.
And also, I feel like everybody has very different definition of AI agents. When we talk to companies and ask like, do you have AI agents? Have you integrated AI? They tell us like, we have like 1,000 agents. But what is an agent like? What do you think about it?
Yeah. When I speak to 10 different people, I hear 10 different definitions about AI agents. I think, of course, like technical details we can go into, but at the core, we can think of AI agents as things that can iterate. You talk to ChatGPT through your chat interface, that's another thing. But an agent is actually able to reiterate, try again and again to achieve a task that was assigned to it. But the important thing here is not to think look these AI agents as general helpers like AGI, but rather once you give them a specific task, you start seeing them working much better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I feel like these agents, because they have different skills and everything, we also like seen this in like 2026. Everybody's building like skills on cloud code, or like even other platforms as well, because I feel like skills are fancy prompts in some kind of way. And these agents should have their own context as well, own integrations, own like customizations. I also feel like this is kind of lacking right now, which is also making it harder to integrate all of these agents, or like the agents collaborating with each other.
Especially like lately, I think we talked about this yesterday. It's impossible to come up with an idea that we would say, wow, how did they do it? Like in this age, when somebody builds something extraordinary, we're like, okay, another one.
Yeah.
When I go to Twitter, I see, okay, so many different things are coming out. Maybe AGI is going to come next week. But of course, that's Twitter. But the main point is, while all these different stuff is happening, I think one of the things that actually made me, okay, this is really valuable, was seeing multiple agents working together. Multi-agentic systems are performing so well, they can actually be the next step. And I think 2026 is going to be where, as humanity, as tech world, we figure out how to make them work together.
Yeah, and this brings me to like November 2025, where Claude released all of these great models. Because like when we first started with Mindra, no one was doing like orchestration, because no one could do it. And when we were first thinking about how to solve this problem, we thought about, oh, maybe we should do reinforcement learning and everything, which is very costly. And with these new models, everybody could actually start to orchestrate. I mean, not perfectly, absolutely, but also like start to orchestrate some of the tasks, have like 5 different agents working together. But there's still a bottleneck where we have like 100 agents, and these all have different contexts, these all have different integrations, and you actually like need to organize these agents in some way that it feels like an organization. Because as humans, we work with each other, we have our departments, we have our manager, we have our director. They all have very different tasks and also different contexts, different data sources and everything. And they also have like different points of view to how to communicate with each other as well, like as humans.
Yeah, I think when we first started working on Mindra, it was much harder to convince people, okay, there will be multiple agents working together. Now I think everybody understood.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
importance
Because
of it.
yeah. And with cloud code, like every developer has their like agents like working with each other, and also they have different terminals, different cloud code sessions everywhere. But this is still, I think, perspective for us that they're all not like technical people. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna ask it. Like, where are they? Where are the agents? Okay, we're talking about all these different complex systems and how agents are so good. When I talk to companies, I don't see agents. I only see basic LLM calls. What is it that makes it difficult for these companies to actually start using AI? Why don't we see multi-agentic systems in these big enterprises?
I think it depends on the company size, but like if we look at enterprises, they have a developer team. I mean, of course, but general, it takes a lot of time to develop these systems, very secure, very reliable and everything. And also on the other hand, when they outsource these like agents, there is still this like bottleneck. These agents all have different platforms, like different calling mechanisms, and you need to actually integrate into your system, which also creates like a bottleneck that you need your developers to work on the integration part as well, like how to integrate these agents to your system. And let's say like you outsource different agents from different companies. You got your marketing agent from like company A, like sales agent from company B, and like how these agents are going to actually communicate each other is also comes to like an engineering problem. But if you look at these agents, one of them is in sales and one of them is in marketing. They're all very non-technical jobs.
Yeah, and I think in this specific area, companies like N8N and Zapier had a really good understanding of the problem. But now that we see creating these nodes that connect to each other and creating these workflows, I think everybody now understands what a workflow is. But the issue was always, still, these are not used in real life risky situations. And the reason is you have to think about all these different things that can go wrong. I actually talked with a supply chain director, and he was talking about a case that they tried to solve with N8N, and they had to have like 50 different flows, because if an error happens here, is not always trivial. It creates its own workflow. It creates its own understanding. And so even though like these drag and drop systems, or even when you're creating these NA10 flows using LLM, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're creating these trees of decisions, it is not going to work. You have to come up
Yeah.
with a creative understanding to better manage these errors.
And you cannot always think about every edge case. It's not possible. Like, even if you create like 50 NA10 workflows, there will be the 51st that you cannot really think about, and it will collapse in production. And which brings a lot of errors and also problems with itself. I mean, these LLMs, they're really smart. They need to solve this in some kind of way.
Yeah, I think like whenever an error occurs in runtime, at that moment you should be able to respond really fast, but also you shouldn't be spending tokens all the way around. And I think that's why there comes a really big engineering problem, an architectural design problem. And that's something really interests me in Mindra also. We're touching this pain point of people. I think your companies really need to have a system where they can trust that it's gonna come up with some kind of a solution when things go wrong 24/7. What do you think is the main technical issue?
I feel like the technical issue is not only the context. I mean, of course, context is a big issue. But other than context, you need to actually like differentiate these agents and also differentiate their like context as well. Because you don't want the marketing agent to know about your sales info, all of them, or other agents as well. So this is one technical problem. Also, the other one, you always need to keep your LLM in the loop or your model, like what do you want to call it?
I think like the new question is who remembers what? This was always an issue in like context management and LLMs, but of course now we see all these different parties. Sometimes you outsource your agents, sometimes you develop them in-house. Who remembers what? This is first of all a security issue. If you have sensitive data, you want to manage where it is transferred to, but also a really big problem for the functionality of it. So that's why like in Mindra, we try to create these agentic teams depending on your requests. And if you created 10 different agents and you ask a really simple question, you shouldn't use multi-agentic systems. You should keep it simple. But once things go a little bit more complicated, then you start understanding the importance of multi-agentic teams. And unfortunately, what we discovered is you cannot have a multi-agentic team, one multi-agentic team that can cover all your different tasks. You need to have 3 agents working or 4 different agents working, sometimes 1. Like, so these are very, very dynamic decisions. I really like the analogy of comparing these agentic systems with how we work as humans. We in companies encounter a lot of problems and we delegate these tasks between each other. Every time we encounter a problem when we're working with teams as humans, we give a decision of how we're going to delegate this between each other. Who knows what? And what I don't see in these agentic systems and agentic companies is they don't take this into consideration. Like, how are we going to create a team that will manage the problem at hand? I think that's overseen by a lot of companies.
I feel like agent tools, AI applications, they integrated to their system. They're all more like a companion or like a tool that they use. But what it will be really useful is that, I mean, like you mentioned, delegating your tasks to agents. Like, you don't want to just like check what your agent does every single minute. Check the output to make sure if it's working or not, or maybe you should change the prompt again. You don't want to do that. You just want to delegate your task and it will like work in the background and it will just like message you whenever like something finishes or when it has like a question to ask, like an intern, and you can actually like focus on your own task. You don't need to like prompt your LLM or your agent like 24/7.
Yeah, it's so good to give a task to an agent and actually close the computer and work on something else. I think that's such a great thing. Once like we have our own agentic system in Mindra and we are using it internally too. That's why I know how this feels. But once you're sleeping, you know that there's something else in the team that's working 24/7 at the background. And when I wake up and see the summary of what it did, it makes me happy. You know?
Yeah, of course. And like in one company, it was like an app studio. They have 50 different apps and they all have very different like performances. They have like ad systems in very different systems like Google Ads, Meta Ads, AppLovin, or like other ad systems. And because one of their apps is top app in the United States, but they're not located in the United States, they don't really sleep at night to check the performance of the actual ads and actually like scale some of the campaigns or like change creatives or like change the audience depending on the performance. And I think this doesn't make any sense at all. Like, you really don't need to like stay up all night to check your app's performance, and you have this very different apps. Like you cannot do this for all 50, and you need 50 different people for all of these apps to check their performance and everything. And this was the very first, I think, the problem I felt when we talked to this like performance marketing. And this is not only performance marketing. For example, you mentioned supply chain. Like, for example, there's a war right now. Like anything can go wrong. A disaster can happen. And this changed the whole supply chain game. And you need to redesign the chain every single time.
I think we can all agree that world news are changing so fast now. It changes the whole game every day, and it's very difficult to keep up with it. There can be a tweet from a certain someone, and immediately all of your metrics are going to change in the following hours. You need to act fast, especially in performance marketing and supply chain. Yeah, and that's very interesting. One thing that I really wanted to talk about is what we are doing at Mindra. Sometimes people come and ask me, okay, you're doing multi-agentic systems. Okay, you are doing all these different things. You talk about context, you talk about APIs, you talk about the universal connectivity layer. How can I interact with Mindra?
You actually prompt whatever you want. And after your prompt, we create the agent team unit. This could be like 3 agents, 4 agents, like you mentioned. In some cases, you only need like only one agent. We don't need to build the whole agent army for you. And after we create your agent team, you can actually see how these agents working with each other, and you can actually see how these agents are talking, like a WhatsApp message, iMessage messages. You actually see how they talk to each other in real time. And they also, like these agents, they have their own context and own integrations. Let's say your marketing agent, like your marketing agent has integrations with Google Ads, Meta Ads, or other ad platforms. Let's say that your sales agents know all the HubSpot data you have. Or let's say your supply chain agent, it is already connected to SAP. And like if you have some like internal documents that you use in the company, like playbooks or something like that, any materials you have, you can actually upload them on Mindra, and we just gather what we really need at that moment for that agent. And after you build your agent team, they start to talk with each other. We also have this like approval systems. Like I don't want my agent to send an email on my behalf.
Yeah.
So please. And I don't need to say like make no mistakes. I could just create a policy that says, oh, ask me every time, or like just block them all the time. So you could also like set these policies, and after you build your agent army, you're ready to go. You can do whatever you want with your agent army.
Yeah, that policy part is very important. Like, of course, everybody tells you, okay, we have some policies, etc. I used an AI tool the other day, and I was using it to reach out to some people. And after 12 recommendations, it told me your plan has ended. I am no longer able to provide you with more people. And yeah, it was only 12 people, but now I'm at my like 1400 or something. Like, I just convinced it that it's really important. Please help me. And it was like, sure. Okay. So we need to understand how easy it is to manipulate these agentic systems. It's also very important to change the mentality. Like these agentic systems and their decision making should be different than the limitations, so that we can better manage how they are going to act. When I first started working on Mindra, and when we first started creating these systems, for example, used to tell it, do not email on my behalf. If you're going to do it, please tell me. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, because you said, I sent the email and I'm asking you, is that okay? You already sent it. That's why I think that's also another really important thing that we discovered, that taking these approval systems out of the LLM, so that it's like, okay, it is literally unable to do this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And what do you think about what can a Mindra agent team do, but a human cannot?
Well, first of all, very most important thing is we sleep, unfortunately. I wish we didn't, but of course we need to sleep. And we are unable to react as fast as these agentic systems. Like it sometimes takes us some time to look at numbers, open some tabs in our computer. Where's my computer? For these systems, once they have the access to data, it's instant. And this instanity, like this real fast decision making is what differentiates them from us. And also, I think we as humans also have this. You are as knowledgeable as your data sources. So once these systems are able to touch to many data points, they are basically more knowledgeable about the current context and current situation. So that's why I think that's something that really differentiates these agentic systems.
Yeah, and I think you cannot be an expert in everything. Like, I have no clue about performance marketing at all. But if I just delegate to my agent, it can do whatever. And this brings me to, if we have very different agents in agents in different systems, this could actually make like a whole team of people, like agents that can actually do the work better
like
than
interns.
you. I wouldn't say an intern because they are better than you. Like the agent is better in performance marketing than me. Like it is at least like a mid-level, senior level performance marketing manager.
Yeah, that brings me to my question. I'm just imitating someone, but let's say like you are talking about all these different systems and how good they are compared to me. Am I going to be fired? Tell me, why would I buy this and see my resignation letter afterwards?
I mean, we see that all these like entry jobs, we don't see them anymore on LinkedIn or anywhere else. And the thing is, we actually feel this more intensely on software engineering jobs because the funny thing is that software engineers build cloud code to just like have their self fired from their companies, which is very sad. But also like you can actually do more valuable things. Like I don't want to do like create reports every single week or like check my performance or like make reminders to our suppliers and everything. So I could just like focus on the more human work. What I mean by that is like still every relationship with businesses, they all work with humans. Like you cannot actually, I think, close a deal with an agent talking to you on the phone or on Zoom all the time. You actually need the human feel of everything because you see that our like LinkedIn DMs or like emails, they're exploding every day because of these AI automations. And I don't even check the human mails anymore as well, which is sad.
Yeah, there are so many spams. And yeah, I think especially to non-technical people, I think you should really hear this out because we've seen this transformation in technical fields like computer engineering. We see cloud code really performing really well in different systems. Of course, we cannot trust it fully. Do not vibe code your whole app. But basically these tools like cloud code has made it so much easier for the developers. But we still see developers, right? I've talked to a guy the other day and he was telling, oh, I'm a traditional guy. I don't trust these agentic systems. They're making us stupid. And I'm a character by character developer. And I said, you're no longer a developer.
What is character to character development?
It's like he mentioned like he was typing everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So he said he still types everything on his own and he's not using agentic or AI tools. And he said, that's the correct way. And I said, you're not character by character developer because you're no longer a developer now. In this age, as we've talked before, like you cannot compete with this AI system. You have to use it. And I think non-technical people should also be very careful about this analogy. It's because it's going to be transferred to those areas. If you stay as, okay, I'm a traditional person, I really want to see my data from paper or like my computer, you are no longer going to be doing that job in the future. You have to use these agentic systems, these multi-agentic systems, but understand that developers are still here and they're just showing the way to these systems. So be there, think high level and understand that these systems are here to stay and understand how to work with them.
And what's one use case that surprised you the most that team delegated?
Yeah, I think like I should think about this first. Maybe I should ask you this. What's the case that you encountered that really surprised you, especially with these multi-agentic systems?
I think for me, when we were first doing our blog post, it was actually me because like I thought, oh, I wanna like automate our blog posting on like Mindra's landing page, and I asked Ilkar, our CTO, actually how I can do that on Mindra. Like as a CEO, I cannot even use my own app, like which is very funny. And he was like, oh, you need to like connect your Supabase because we're using Supabase on the Mindra landing, and after you connect it, you just prompt whatever you want, and Mindra will schedule all your like blog posts and everything. But the problem here, like as non-technical people, like we cannot really think about a solution. I didn't know like I should connect my Supabase.
Yeah.
It was the first version of Mindra where we didn't have this like connections being done automatically. With the users' feedback and my own experience, I thought to myself, you should also think about the solution, like how this like people should work on Mindra before they think about it. Because like we're not solution engineers here. We just want to delegate our tasks.
Yeah. That's also something that we are really obsessed in Mindra, how we are going to show how the AI is going to be. And we had this hackathon in SF in the AWS building. And in that hackathon, we had the opportunity to show Mindra to people. And we told them this is going to be a UI for non-technical people. How easy it is to use. And the user feedback was so harsh.
Yeah, and also like after our soft launch on March 1st, I called every single user on the wait list and also like who signed up. And I called one of the users at 1 a.m. actually, because like they reported a bug that is on staging. But like, how is this person on staging? Like, the funny thing is like we forgot to turn off the staging access to these people. So they were testing there and we really didn't even understand they were using the staging platform before calling them at 1 a.m. But they actually picked up because they sent the email at 1 a.m.
Yeah. And for that, I really appreciate. I'm going to send all my love to you now, because when we did the soft launch and when people encountered bugs, the first version of your app is gonna be bad. Yeah, if you're not ashamed of your first version, you know the deal. But there are so many people who continues to send us the bugs rather than closing the app and saying, "Oh, okay, it's buggy." But rather, people were really
passionate.
They were really passionate about the product, and that made me so happy. And thank you again. And it made it possible for us to make it much more convenient for non-technical people. Now, all you need to do is just say, automate my blog posts in my website, and it will. As a team, we are very technical, and we need to understand that it's not only about being non-technical or technical; it's being simple. And I think that simplicity is very, very important once you're dealing with these systems.
Yep, absolutely. And what do you think about, like, what did you build on Mindra that users didn't even use it and they just ignored it?
Actually, this is something I really want to talk about because I'm very mad to my developer team. Let me tell you. I was telling them all these different bugs that I've seen in the app, and I was using Mindra to detect these bugs and put it in our Linear or Notion and remind them. And it was putting them on Notion because I use Notion for like project management and seeing what is going on, etc. And they were not tracking what was being put there. And I was really mad at them. And I told Mindra, this is their mail. Find these bugs and let them know that these should be fixed until this. And Mindra was messaging them through Slack, through mail, and it was tracking all this process. And that was really fun. And thankfully, all of those were fixed afterwards.
My question was more like what I mean by users is that, like, for example, you built the scheduler feature, but nobody even actually used it. Was there a case like that?
Yeah. Like when we first, like the first version of our app, we had integrations and then agents and assistants that you can talk with. And what we realized was people literally didn't give a shit about it. They don't want to connect agents and then create assistants and then chat with them. They want simplicity, and that's it. And that's why we got rid of the assistant part of it. Try to get rid of as much terminology and as much random names as much as we can. And now we don't have assistants, but rather a simple interface, a simple command center. Say what you want to do and it will come up with an answer.
Mm-hmm. As a CPO, what was the hardest product decision you had to make?
Yeah, I think naming stuff is the most important and also the most difficult part, because as you know, like there's so many different definitions to some things that we talk about on an everyday basis, like what's an agent, what's an assistant, what's a knowledge base, etc., etc. I think determining what is important and how it should be named and how should it be branded is a very, very difficult job. And I think as a product person, I can say you cannot be correct about this stuff. You need to go to the user. You need to see them struggling, or you need to see them saying, okay, it's very easy. Once you don't hear from your users, that means you're doing a good job. So yeah, I think that's the most difficult aspect of it.
And what was the first moment that you felt like, oh, this is actually working and users love it?
I think like the first moment was when I got the first demo, beta, not final version of Mindra and started working with it. And I started demoing to people, and I was always like creating these meetings with them, like follow-up meeting using Mindra. Mm-hmm. I was just telling, okay, we talked about this, create a meeting for us next Wednesday, 3 p.m. And it was doing it, and it was going very great in demos. And then my developer team came to me and said, Dennis, we forgot to connect the time zone information. And I was like, what? But it was creating all these meetings. And I was in Istanbul at that time. And 3 p.m., it was creating them in Istanbul. And I was like chatting with Mindra, like, how did you come up with this? And apparently it was looking at the time zone information. It couldn't find it. Apparently one of the tools it had allowed it to look at previous meetings and their titles. Even though they're very rare Turkish titles, it's reasoned that, okay, then this person might be in Turkey and I should put the meeting in Turkish time zone. And at that moment, I was like, how did you come up with this? Like, how did you understand that I don't have available tools? Let me try this, let me try that. And I, at that moment, said, okay, this is going to be really, really great.
For me, that moment was when one of the AI engineers in the company that was making decisions, they told us, oh, I can see this app actually spread the whole company, starting with the marketing team, then with the product team, and spreading the whole company. Like, it was crazy for me because it was very, I think, motivating in a way that, oh, oh, like this could be anything like in the company. You can make it as like an agent team for the product team. You can make the agent team for the marketing. You can make the agent team for the executive team.
Now we've been working on this product for some time. Where are we going? What's the plan for Mindra in the following year?
So we have a launch upcoming on May 4th.
May the 4th. We are waiting for that specific moment.
Why the May 4th?
Why the May 4th? Because to all the Star Wars fans here, it's a very important date and I think it really makes sense.
What does this launch actually mean for Mindra? I mean, you know, like we already launched the initial version of Mindra on March 1st and we got the feedback. I mean, of course, and we had these features and everything and we have some new features and we also changed a lot of things in the app.
Yeah, I think like as a mentality in Mindra, we really want the user feedbacks and understand how people are actually going to interact with the product. I think this time product is much more stable and much easier in terms of how you interact with it. And we really want to just present it to people that want to use this. We're really focused on B2B and we want to see how companies actually interact with it and connect their data points into Mindra and see how these solutions. I think this is one of the steps that we're going to take. Like this is going to put us in another place. And I think it's very exciting to see how people are going to be using it.
Who is this built for, this version?
Yeah, this version is for non-technical people, or you can say people that don't want to deal with technical stuff. But especially if you're in sales, marketing, performance marketing parts, like if you're dealing with a lot of data, this is the product that you should try. And also if you're supply chain or if you have like basically what it helps is once you have multiple different decision points, give it a shot and think of a case that okay, it's not going to be able to do this. Try it and see how it will react with it. I'm also really curious on what people are going to come up with.
And what happens if it works the way we hope?
If it works the way we hope, I think it's going to change how we understand everyday stuff that we're doing at companies. Like if you can delegate your marketing processes to an agent that will work all the time, it's no longer a to-do in your tasks, right? So how is it going to change the environment in the marketplace? In the company, that's something we really want to discover.
It's also going to change Mindra in a way that we always made a lot of product decisions. And Mindra is like a product that is very kind of technical in terms of the architectural part, but on the platform side is very non-technical. It also makes it a little bit hard for like to understand for people. And what we hear all the time is, oh, we really don't understand what you're building at all. I think this version will make it much more easier for people to understand, even though they have no idea how to use any AI or how to prompt anything at all. We will make sure that everything will work in the intended way, even though they don't do the like everything very perfect.
Yeah, completely. Like when we are talking with developers and talk about the technical background of Mindra and how complicated it is, that's another thing that excites me. But also it's really exciting how it comes down to a simple interface with all the different things going at the background. I hope we will publish this because we will only publish this if we win. But but yeah, great.
Everybody wants to know.
Everybody wants to know.
Thank you very much for listening to us and see you on the very next episode.
Yeah.